What is up, loyal lads and ladies? My name is Midnight Wolf, and welcome to another episode of the Wolf on the Field show. In today's episode, we are going to be reacting to the 2023 Red River Rivalry game. And yeah, let's get started because wow, that was quite the performance by both teams. And ultimately, the best team in this game came out on top. And I want to congratulate both teams. And what am I saying? 49 to what? Come on, guys. Boomer Sooner. I'm very proud of what Oklahoma was able to do in that game. With the exception of 2 points in that game, Oklahoma was in control. There was only two very short moments, mind you, that Oklahoma was in control. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's bring up the final score. Oklahoma scored 34. Texas scored 30. And it was one of those games that was complete, like all the way down to the last moments of the game. And you couldn't ask for a better Red River. I mean, this is up there. My top three favorite Oklahoma games in my short amount of time that I've been a true Oklahoma fan. I have three top games that are highlighted in my memory that I will forever think back on, and probably every single preseason I will watch the highlights from these three games to get me motivated and hyped for the new season. That first one was Oklahoma versus Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. I think it was the year 2014. That one was amazing. Then you, of course, fast forward to when Caleb Williams came in and he brought our team to, like, I think it was a 21-point deficit, comeback victory, whatever you want to call it. And it was incredible against Texas a couple years ago. And now you have this one. The game was back and forth. Oklahoma was still in control for most of this game, but it was still back and forth. Each team kept having an answer for any kind of success, and it was just incredible from start to finish. I mean, you could not ask for a better Red River rivalry than this year. You saw just about everything. You saw amazing turnover plays that swung the momentum towards one of the teams. You saw a fake punt that got some yards. You saw a blocked punt that ended up turning into a touchdown. You saw an amazing, incredible fourth down goal line stop. And you also saw an amazing, incredible final minute drive that won the game. I mean, it was jam-packed full. Everybody, I don't care if you were Texas or Oklahoma, everybody was nervous about this game from start to finish. And it was one of those that I am very hyped. I mean, it was one of those that I had to literally, I couldn't make this video. I could not believe what I had watched. I could not make this video the day of. I had to sleep on it and really think about my thoughts on what I wanted to present for you guys. It was incredible, and you could not ask for a better performance on either side of the ball. So where do I begin? I guess let's start with the positives on this one, because Oklahoma, you know, you start to see these turnovers. You start to see these turnovers early in the season, and you're like, oh, this is great. This is something that we were missing out on. But will it continue? Will it be something that we see consistently in each and every game? And they delivered. It was not a fluke to get those 5 turnovers against Tulsa. It was not a fluke to get at least 2 turnovers a game from the first part of the season to now where we're at in the middle smack dab center of the regular season. We are a turnover machine, and that is great defense. That is what I wanted to see. And they delivered. And I think we are not, I don't know if we're leading the nation in turnovers, but we are amongst the best in that department. And that, I mean, say what you will, I've heard some people say, oh, you know, Oklahoma only won because of those turnovers. If Texas cleans that up, then they don't win this game. But that's the thing. Turnovers are a part of games. Turnovers win ball games. That's the only thing Alex Grinch seemed to got right, was turnovers do in fact win you games, and that's a part of it. So I'm sorry, you can't just say, oh, they only won because of those turnovers, or silly things like that. That is a part of the game. So props to Oklahoma for winning the turnover battle in this game. And on the offensive side, we were perfect. We did not give the ball up. There was one play where it almost got picked off in the end zone, and that would have probably been a big play for Texas, but we did not, and we held on to the ball. I don't even think we did have one loose ball. It was on a snap. It was a Dylan Gabriel was looking away when the ball got snapped, and unfortunately that rolled back pretty far, and we had to thankfully not get tackled or sacked in that regards, but we had to throw the ball away, and it was a 3rd down at that point, so I think we had to end up punting after that. But yeah, no, the turnovers, incredible. I mean, especially I think in two games in a row, I believe, we started the game on the very first drive with a turnover. It was against Iowa State. We got a pick 6 against them at the very beginning of the game. And then in this game, we got a pick 6, I think, on the 2nd or 3rd play. So that was incredible to see. And I really hope that we see that continue on, that we continuously force the balls out of the hands of our opponents. I'm loving that we are punching the ball. It's not like teams are making mistakes with the ball. They are gripping it well, but Oklahoma's able to punch the ball out. And I mean, I think Quinn Ewers only had 1 turnover going into this game. And after this, Quinn Ewers had 3 just from Oklahoma alone. Oh, hi, Dad. But I am very happy with what I saw in that regards. Very, very well done getting the ball out of the offense. Yeah, so that was excellent. I loved that anytime Oklahoma was faced with any kind of adversity in this game, they were able to answer soon after. I think there at some point it was Oklahoma was 10, and I think Texas scored a touchdown. They were 7 points. They scored a touchdown, and they took the lead. That was the first lead that Texas got in that game. And I believe it was the very next drive, Oklahoma responded well, and they were able to punch it in and get the momentum back. So anything that Texas did, Oklahoma had an answer for, and that is how you win games. When you face adversity, you don't, I guess the terminology that is commonly used, you bend but you don't break. And that is what is great to see in this Oklahoma team, is a team that's not going to break when they are backed into a corner. And then you go in, I can't remember which quarter it was. I think it was in the fourth quarter. Texas was moving the ball pretty well, and they had a really good play that put them on the 1 yard line, I believe it was. It was a pretty decent chunk play, if I remember right, and it put them on the 1 yard line. And first, they get of course, that was a first down. So first down goes, Oklahoma stops them. Second down happens, Oklahoma stops them. Third down happens, Oklahoma stops them. And on the fourth down, instead of running the ball, they tried to do like this little tiny pass off to the side. And once again, Oklahoma was able to stop. That was an incredible effort by the Oklahoma defense to be able to stop a goal line stop that would have given Oklahoma or Texas all the momentum in the world in that moment. And that instead, that momentum is now placed upon the Sooners. And amazing job. I mean, if that isn't proof that this Oklahoma defense is what we've been expecting out of Venables, I don't know what is, because that was an excellent performance by them. Now, unfortunately, and you could tell, I mean, it was late in the game, the defense did start to, spiral a little bit. However, the defense was able to hold Texas to field goals at the end. I mean, they were moving the ball well, but then when it mattered the most, they were able to put a stop to them, and they were able to force field goals. And I believe that it was Oklahoma 27 and Texas at some point did tie the game, but then they had a drive and they were able to get the lead with the field goal. Then that there was 1 minute or 1 minute 15 seconds, I think it was, on the clock after that field goal. So I mean, that is not a whole lot of time. And then Dillon Gabriel, he put on the best performance I think anybody has seen out of him this entire season. His composure, he didn't look like he was really nervous at all. He looked very comfortable. He was very decisive in what he was going to do. And I think a 5-play march down the field, I mean, there was a moment where the play right before the end, Dillon Gabriel tried to run it up the middle, and he got stopped. And then now time is ticking, and it wasn't like he stood back up and spiked the ball to stop the time. No, with time rolling, he was able to keep his composure, and props to all of the offense. Like, they could have easily gotten a false start at any point in that moment, and that would have put the ball a lot further. And when the pocket is closing in on Dillon Gabriel in the final offensive play on the Oklahoma side, he's able to punch it in. I think it was Anderson that got the touchdown to win the game. Of course, there was 15 seconds left. Texas was moving the ball pretty well, but Oklahoma was in a prevent defense. and they were able to stop the Hail Mary that would have won the game for Texas. And now we end that amazing recap, very, very exciting recap of an incredible game. I mean, you cannot ask for a better Red River Rivalry game. That, like, both teams came to play, both teams gave it their all, but ultimately the best team came out on top, and that's all we ask for. Now Oklahoma gets to, I think even Texas too, I think both teams have a bye this week, so one gets to have an extra week of celebration, the other one gets another week of mourning before they get to try to bounce back. And we'll see how Texas responds to the loss, and we'll see how Oklahoma does with the newfound hype that is going to be surrounding them the next couple of weeks. That is something that is very troublesome for Oklahoma teams of the past. We've got to figure out a way to deal with the hype. We've got to figure out a way to kind of shut all of the noise out and just focus on what truly matters, and that is win ball games. And if we play to the same level of intensity that we did against Texas in the rest of our games, Oklahoma will go undefeated. There's no doubt about that. But the moment they give in to some hype, the moment that they give in to the idea or the thought that they are the best, if you want to go that far, they will have that one game that seems to plague a solid Oklahoma football team every single time that we have the potential or the capacity to be undefeated. So hopefully that doesn't happen. You know, kind of like what I have been saying all season long. Fantastic win, and in fact you get an extra week to kind of celebrate. But when it comes time to practice, get refocused. Like I said in the first games video, post-game video, the scores are reset to 0. New ball game. So when we go and play UCF, I want to see this kind of intensity. I want to see a team that is hungry for that playoff spot. That's not going to bend or break, really. They can bend a little bit, but we need to be willing to make adjustments and be focused on what truly matters, and that is win your games. You just got to win your games, and you will get the respect that you need to push you into the playoffs. And then there's a good chance that we're going to see Texas again. There is a great chance that Texas bounces back and they run the table, and a one-loss Texas team most likely will make it to the Big 12. The only team that could jump Texas in that run, assuming that Oklahoma goes undefeated as well, is West Virginia, I believe. I think they're the only. There might be one other team that's got a one loss in the Big 12. But West Virginia, they have the ability to possibly make it to the Big 12. So I would not be shocked if that does happen. But if Texas can run the table, we might be seeing them again. And depending on how that game goes, and depending on how certain other games go, I mean, this is a very, very, a very what if scenario. There's a chance that these teams could meet a third time this year. It's a very small percentage chance, but it is possible. And the way that would go down is Texas would have to beat Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship game. But it would have to be a very close game, like a 1-point victory, or maybe a 3-point victory, like basically a 1-score victory, like this past game. And other teams would have to lose some of their games. Like the Big Ten would kind of have to all beat each other. Pac-12 would all have to beat each other. Georgia would have to lose a game, maybe in the SEC championship game, and Florida State, would have to lose a game as well. It may be one of those years where there's no undefeated team when it's all said and done. So I think that is how much parity there is in this year's football thing. You believe Texas plays West Virginia? I know we do. There's a BYU I think about as well. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. If West Virginia can beat Texas, then we most likely will play West Virginia. If Texas beats West Virginia, it will probably see Texas. And then BYU, they're another team I believe that is a potential candidate as well. So we'll just have to wait and see when it comes to that. But at the same time, we've got to take care of business ourselves, and we've got to be ready for each and every game that is on our schedule, regardless of what the narrative is in regards to Oklahoma's schedule. People don't think that it is solid, but we're going to get into the AP poll as well today, and there is another opportunity for Oklahoma to play another ranked team on their schedule, and that is Kansas. Kansas is a team that could give Oklahoma problems. I mean, Texas handled them well. However, it was a home game for Texas. Oklahoma has to go to Kansas. And I mean, it's not the biggest stadium. I actually had the privilege of being able to go there a few years ago, and it's not the biggest stadium, so I don't really think the crowd noise will really affect Oklahoma. However, it is a hostile environment nonetheless, and Oklahoma needs to be ready for that game. And so yeah, that's really all I have to say in regards to Oklahoma. I mean, take it one game at a time. Enjoy the extra week. But when it comes time to practice, stay focused. Stick to the same level of intensity. Don't think that you're the best team in the nation. You still got to prove that. You still have to prove to everybody that you're the best team. Obviously, and we'll get to the AP poll here in just a little bit. Even the AP poll doesn't think you're the best team in the nation. So let that be fuel for the fire that is already raging in you guys. And let's go kick some butt this next half of the season. So anyways, let's go ahead and I'm going to bring up the AP poll. Let's see here. Let's get the AP poll. So this is the new AP poll following week 6. They don't play West Virginia? I thought they did. That's my bad. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I thought they did as well. But that's that's something that is still a possibility. So West Virginia could run the table, and if they do, we will probably play West Virginia then. And then so anyways, let's get back to the AP poll. So coming at number 25, and this one I'm already gonna laugh pretty big about. Miami, what are you doing? apparently, I heard that the head coach. I guess I should first set it up here. I guess I haven't even seen the game yet. I haven't even seen the highlight or what but I just heard about it. I guess Miami had the ball. It was a 23-20, I think, lead. All they had to do was knee the ball down, and the clock would run out, and they would win the game. But that didn't happen, apparently. I guess they tried to run a play, and the guy fumbled it, turned the ball over, and I think it was Georgia Tech, and they were able to throw a Hail Mary to win the game. And it's kind of one of those things that, come on, you've got to be aware of what's going on. You got to be aware that, hey, all you need to do is kneel the ball and you've won the game. And I don't know if they were just trying to flex that, or, try to make it a better win margin. That may have been what they were trying to do. But you can't do that. You cannot do that. A win is a win. I would go for the win, not the points. So they definitely screwed themselves up, and now an undefeated Miami team is now sitting with a loss. And I would almost say kick him out of the top 25 for that. I mean, that's how messed up that is. But at the same time, there was a lot of other losses in this week to top 25 teams, and that could be why Miami got the chance to stay in the top 25. Otherwise, I think other teams would have taken that spot, like Missouri, for example. You have Kentucky. I believe they. I think that's a pretty good spot. Maybe, like, once again, if Miami didn't do what they did, Kentucky would probably be my 25, just because Georgia had their way with them. It wasn't even close, and yeah, you can't do that. I mean, you're undefeated going in that matchup, and you definitely screwed up in that regard. So 24. That's pretty generous, but at the same time, you are a one-loss team. So, and it was to the number one team. However, it was pretty ugly. And then you have Kansas. They're back in the rankings. So that, I mean, as an Oklahoma fan, that is great. That means that we could potentially have another top 25 matchup. And, depending on how they do this next week, if they do play, I haven't looked at their schedule in a while, but if they do play, Kansas will be in the top 25 if they win, of course, and hopefully they'll be even higher following next week, and that will be great for us. Not necessarily if we win, but regardless of the outcome of that game, that'll be a great second top 25 matchup for Oklahoma. That means that their schedule gets a little tougher, because I know a lot of people can't stand that schedule of ours. But then you have LSU. They're kind of an interesting team that I really don't know what to make of just yet. I know their offense has been pretty good, but I think they are suffering with a pretty bad defense right now. And I think if it wasn't for a bad defense, if they had a pretty decent offense or a pretty decent defense, they would probably be undefeated. But I mean, they're kind of suffering with what we had in the Lincoln Riley area, and we'll kind of get to USC here in just a little bit in that regards. But yeah, no, like it's true. You have to have a defense to be able to compete at a high level. Defense wins you championships. Offenses can win you games, absolutely. And you can, I mean, and they're exciting games too, because there's a lot of points being scored, a lot of crazy plays and that sort of thing. But defense will help you win championship games. And at LSU, they definitely seem to be struggling in that department. Notre Dame, I don't know what happened to Notre Dame. Like, they deflated big time. I mean, I personally thought they were a little overhyped to be anyways, but man, Louisville had their way with them. And props to that Louisville defense. We'll get to them here in just a little bit, but my goodness, they were dominating the line of scrimmage in that game. But Notre Dame, man, they could not figure it out. They could not. I mean, they got beat in that game, and after that performance, after already losing a game and winning another game very close, I would have probably kicked them out of the top 25. Give Air Force a shot. Take Notre Dame out of there and give Air Force a spot in the top 25. That was a terrible performance, and major props to Louisville on that, but we'll get to them here in just a little bit. Washington State comes in at number 20. I believe they played UCLA, so UCLA already lost a game, but they were able to beat a pretty highly ranked, I think Washington State going into this game was at rank 13, if I remember correctly. And so a UCLA team was able to beat a pretty highly ranked Washington State team, so that it knocks out another undefeated team out of the conversation of undefeated teams in that regards. Tennessee is doing what Tennessee does, I guess. I think they might have had a bye this week, so they naturally didn't really do it. I think they were 19 anyways, so Tennessee is just kind of there, especially since I think Florida lost, if I remember right. I think Florida lost yesterday or Saturday, and so it's kind of interesting. It's like, what do you do with Tennessee? Because they are winning their games after that, but they did lose to Florida, and so it's kind of a weird situation for them, because now Florida is kind of losing a lot of their games. But now we're on to UCLA. Once again, they did an outstanding job at beating a pretty solid Washington State team, so naturally you would put them ahead of them. Of course, not by much since they did lose. Then you have Duke. I think Duke and Utah both had a bye week, so we won't really need to talk about them, but I think they actually moved up after a bye week just because so many teams lost their game. So that's kind of funny. Get rewarded for not doing anything in a week. That's always nice. Then Oregon State, I don't remember if they won their. I think they did win their game, but I think they struggled a little bit. It may have been a comeback win. I can't remember. I didn't really pay too close attention to them, but they just stayed the same because they were at 15. But they will have an opportunity to prove themselves once again against, I believe, Oregon, against Washington. So they will have plenty of opportunities to get back into the conversation. I think they did have a loss a couple weeks ago, if I remember right. Louisville, everybody needs to watch out for Louisville. They're kind of one of those that is quickly gaining some momentum, and their win over Notre Dame was very impressive. Louisville, they look dominant. I mean, at least on the defensive side, they were all over Notre Dame, and they're going to be a tough team, I think. They're pretty. I mean, Notre Dame, I think, was overhyped to begin with, but they did an outstanding job, and OSU beat Cal. That is right. Yeah, that is right. But yeah, no. Louisville, they could be one of those teams that nobody expected, nobody saw coming from a mile away. So props to Louisville on a solid victory over Notre Dame. Ole Miss, did they play LSU? I can't now. I don't remember who Ole Miss played. Honestly, there's just so many crazy games that it was hard to keep track of all the different major matchups. Ole Miss, I believe they won their game, so 13. Don't have a problem with that. North Carolina. Miss beat Arkansas. Okay, that's who they played. Yeah, that's right. 27-20. So yeah, naturally Ole Miss gets to stay in the conversation with that win against Arkansas, and it's a decent Arkansas team. I mean, they're kind of one of those that's like they've played well. They just haven't been able to get over the hump of winning their games. So they're kind of one of I think even Joel Klatt would talk about like teams that are like they almost have it, like they're on the cusp of greatness if they can just figure something out and get over that hump. So Arkansas, so that would be a pretty solid win for Ole Miss for sure. North Carolina at number 12. That's another team that is starting to make a statement in their games. I can't remember who they played, but it might have been Stanford. No, I don't think it was Stanford, but it was a fairly respected team, and they blew them out of the water. So that's another undefeated team. It was Syracuse. Okay, thank you. They clobbered North Carolina, or North Carolina clobbered Syracuse. And so I would honestly, personally, if I had my top 10 ready to go, and I do plan on getting one done later this week, of what my mid-season top 25 would look like. So stay tuned for that. But I would definitely have North Carolina in my top 10. I think that they are a better football team than at least USC and Alabama. They're undefeated. Put them into the top 10. I think that they could be somebody that to keep an eye on. So Louisville and North Carolina, you keep winning your games, you will find yourself in the top 10 and maybe even higher at some point. I mean, especially if certain games go a certain way later on in the season. Then you have Alabama. Alabama. They beat an A&M team, an arguably bad A&M team, by I think 6 points. Not very impressive, in my opinion. I know it was at A&M, but Alabama just keeps squeezing by. They're not really looking very dominant. It's amazing that they haven't lost yet, other than against, of course, Texas. I think that Alabama will lose at least 1 to 2 games. And if not in the regular season, I definitely think that Georgia will beat them if Georgia is who they play in the SEC championship. Then you also have USC, and I'm sorry, but they're gonna lose. I have zero faith in USC. Caleb Williams, he's incredible. Probably arguably the best quarterback that is out there this year. But their offensive line, crap. Their defense, garbage. I don't see how they are given any kind of hype over a North Carolina or a Louisville who beat a number 10 Notre Dame. Obviously, they're not number 10 now, but they beat a well-respected team in Notre Dame, and yet they're outside of the top 10. I would have either North Carolina or Louisville in my top 10. And the fact that USC can barely squeak by these teams, yeah, they're scoring a ton of points, but their opponents are also scoring a ton of points. Then you have Texas. We already talked about that earlier, but yeah, Texas, I don't have a problem with them remaining in the top 10. I think they've deserved it. Obviously, their win against Alabama, they deserve to be ahead of them. But Texas, I mean, they're a solid football team this year. I hate saying that, and I do have to give credit where credit is due. And Texas is a pretty solid team. And I don't have a problem with a one-loss Texas in the top 10. And plus, that means that we, if we do in fact play them again, and we do beat them, that means we beat a top 10, really even a top. I mean, I could see Texas by the time we play them again being a top 5 or 6 team again if they run the table. So to beat a top 5 or 6 team twice, that's hard to do. I mean, it's hard to beat any team twice in one season, but to beat a top 5 to 6 team twice, that would be very difficult to do. So I don't have a problem with Texas being there. I think that is a pretty solid spot for them. They kept it close. It was 34-30. So that game could have gone either way. And so I think that is a testament to both teams. And that is why Texas remains at the top 10. Then you have Oregon. Now, I have a problem with where they are placed amongst the Pac-12 teams. I think that they are a better football team than Washington. A few weeks ago, I would have said that Washington had my vote of being the best Pac-12 team. Then I watched them play Arizona, which, after seeing how they did against USC, maybe Arizona's a pretty solid football team this year, but still, Washington only beat Arizona by 7 points, and it was kind of an ugly 7-point victory. It didn't really seem like they had control of that game, and they kind of squeaked by that one. So Oregon has been nothing but dominant. Now it's you can argue about how good their schedule has been, but they've been the consistent dominant team in the Pac-12. So I would honestly have them at 7 and put Washington behind them, but that will get ironed out at some point. I think actually this next week even. So we'll find out who is the better team between these two great teams. So right now it's a whoa, but it could be an ow later on if you catch my drift there. Then you have Penn State. I don't have a problem with Penn State there. I think that's, they, amongst the Big Ten, they have an opportunity to earn their spot in a higher rank. And I think they play Michigan next. I think it'll be Penn and Michigan, either this week or in a couple of weeks. That is going to be a great matchup. I'm going to be pushing for Penn State in that one. One, I'm more of an underdog guy. But 2, I'm not really a big fan of Michigan. I think they've kind of been overrated. Has their defense looked impressive? Absolutely. But I hope the Nittany Lions come to play for that one and they upset Michigan. But I'm fine with them being at 6 for now. They will have plenty of opportunities, even against Ohio State, to prove their worth. Then coming at number 5, my Oklahoma Sooners. Oklahoma, it's been a tough season for them in regards to media hype. Nobody has been giving them a chance. Nobody thought that they could beat Texas. Literally everybody, even YouTube channels and people who surround their channel around Oklahoma, didn't give Oklahoma a chance. I mean, they maybe have given them a little chance, but just about everybody was saying that Texas was going to win this game. And they played their hearts out. I think 5 is a perfect spot for them because I would honestly put them in the top 4. I think that they deserve a spot. I mean, if you're going to have Texas in the top 3, I like them to be in the top 4 at least. But at the same time, I like to be the underdog. I like being at 5 because that means that we still have work to do. That means that we're going to be hungry to get that top 4 spot. And the great part is 2 of these teams that are ahead of us have to play each other. So naturally, if we win our games, we're in. The only difference, the only thing that could throw a damper in that is if Oregon, if the committee, and I know this is just the AP poll, but if the committee values Oregon, an Oregon win or a Washington win against those 2 teams, if they value that over Oklahoma and Florida State, Ohio State or Michigan or Georgia, if they go undefeated, that would be a scenario that Oklahoma gets left out. However, I think Florida State, as we can see, like Clemson is probably one of their best games that they've won, but we've seen how Clemson is this year. They're not the Clemson that we've come to know and get used to. It's going to be a toss-up, I think, if both Oklahoma and Florida State go undefeated. I think that Oklahoma will have the edge in that matchup with the win against Texas, especially if they beat Texas twice, and then a Texas team who beat a number 11 Alabama. We'll see how Alabama does the rest of the season, and they may not end up in the top 10, but they're at least close for right now, and to me, that makes Oklahoma's win a lot more impressive than Florida State. Florida State beat Texas Tech, solid win. Ohio State struggled with Maryland. Michigan beat, yeah. I mean, Ohio State, yeah, they've kind of been a weird team this year. They've kind of started out slow, but I see the growth. They may not be there yet, but I see the trajectory that they're on. And yeah, they had some adversity against their opponent, but they were able to kind of figure some things out, and they were able to pull away later in that game. So maybe now Michigan is the better team against Ohio State, and so I don't have a problem with Michigan being ahead of Ohio State for now. Obviously, that'll get worked out at some point, but I don't know. I feel better about Ohio State. They have been the more dominant team in recent memory compared to Michigan. However, we'll see. We'll see how that goes in the future. Michigan, they did have a pretty solid win. Pretty solid defensive stand against who did they play? Michigan played Minnesota. Yeah, that's right. Minnesota. So they held them, I think, to a single digit, which is impressive, and I think they are the number 1 scoring defense. So I could see why everybody has them or thinks that they are a solid team. However, I still don't see it. I think that Ohio State is the better team, but once again, that'll get worked out later on. And then you have Georgia. My goodness, their victory against Kentucky was outstanding. It definitely was a reminder to the nation of why they should be number 1, because these first few weeks have been kind of uneventful for Georgia, and they almost lost to Auburn. And definitely after that performance, I would have definitely dropped them to 4 at the very least. Still give them an opportunity to make the playoffs and prove themselves in the playoffs, but I think that there are much better. I did think that there were much better teams. However, the way they handled Kentucky, an undefeated Kentucky, was incredible. That was kind of the Georgia that we've seen in the last couple of years. And if that's the Georgia we get the rest of the season, I think they're number one again. As much as I hate to say that, but they, you know, if they continue on that trajectory, they might even be the person that gets the team to get the three-peat. So I hope that doesn't happen, but it could happen. So we'll just have to be mentally prepared for that. And yeah, that's your AP poll reaction. I honestly, I don't have a lot of problems with this week's poll. I mean, there's a few nitpicks here and there that I could really go after, but I think this was probably the best AP poll that's come out. It makes the most sense. Once again, I mean, little things like I would swap Florida State and OU. I think OU has the better win. But I'm okay with 5. I think there's plenty of season to go to prove that Oklahoma is a playoff contender. And that is another thing. This would be the perfect season for the playoff expansion, because there are a lot of teams that I think has a pretty good shot at being a very solid team this year. If they continue the way that they've been, like Joel Klatt has his line, his above line thing, or below the line thing as well. I think that there is a lot of teams that could have the potential of getting that playoff spot and getting that national championship trophy. So that would have been the perfect season for the expansion, but we got to wait one more season for that, unfortunately. But that means the stakes are still high going into the second half of the season. Some teams get a bye week this week, so yeah, we'll just have to see what happens in the weeks to come. But yeah, we are, as far as Oklahoma is concerned, we are on the right track. We just got to keep pushing forward. As far as all the other teams, keep doing what you're doing. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and thanks for stopping by, Dad. and being very what's the word? Attentive and participation. So for lack of better words, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this little reaction to both the OU Texas game and the AP poll reaction. Once again, excellent job, Oklahoma Sooners. So celebrate, get ready for the next one though, and you guys have a good one. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you guys in the next one. And real quick, it is the halfway point of the season, so that means that I will start my poll, or I will do the mid-season poll from my spreadsheet that I have. I have a video series from week 1. Where I, after week 1, was able to rank teams based on their week 1 performance, and it's all completely based off of stats. I'm going to do that again for this midseason. It's going to be a lot of work. It's going to probably take me all week to do, and I'm already kind of behind because I should have started it today, but I kind of got home a little later than usual and stuff like that. But I will definitely get started on that as soon as possible. I will fill that out and kind of go over what that poll ranks teams. And the reason I'm doing it is I'm wanting to have a poll that is completely non-biased, that is completely based off of points, kind of like the BCS era of football. And yeah, so stay tuned for those episodes. And if you would like to stop by and comment in the live chat, that would be a great stream to do that. Very chill, not a whole lot going on other than you guys watching me input data. But the point of those videos is not necessarily the data entry stuff. That's just kind of a starting point for the video, but really the point of the video is to be discussionary. So please hop into that when that video goes live, and hop in. We'll chat college football. It doesn't necessarily have to be Oklahoma. It could be about anything college football related, and we'll have a good time with that if you guys are interested. So yeah, so enough of that little preview there. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you guys in the next one. You guys take care. Bye.